Rumpelstiltskin, a good night sleep tight storybook. Illustrated by Pam Story. Story retold by Grace de la Touche. A long time ago and far away, there lived a miller and his daughter. The miller was a very boastful man who bragged about everything under the sun. While he was delivering flour at a castle, he was boasting as usual. "My daughter is so beautiful and very clever," he told the chamberlain. "Do you know something? She can even turn straw into gold." Unfortunately for the miller, the king happened to be passing at that moment and heard every word that the miller said. When the miller had gone, the king called his chamberlain. "I heard you talking to that miller," said the king. "I heard him say that his daughter could spin straw into gold. Arrange to bring her here." The very next day the king's men arrived at the mill. The miller's daughter saw them coming. "Oh, father," she said, "what have you been saying now?" The miller had already forgotten his boast to the chamberlain. "The king requests the pleasure of the company of the miller's daughter for a demonstration of her skill of turning straw into gold," said the messenger. Both the miller and his daughter gasped. "Oh, father," cried the girl. "But my dear," blustered her father, "I was simply telling the chamberlain how very clever you are." The girl hurried to gather a few things together and then returned to the castle with the king's men. The king was waiting in the great hall. "I understand that you have a remarkable gift," said the king. "I believe my father may have exaggerated somewhat," said the girl. "He is inclined to say things he may not mean." "But I heard him with my own ears," said the king. "A room is ready for you." Before the girl could say anything else, she was led to a large room full of piles of straw. The door was shut and locked behind her. The girl began to cry. How could she turn straw into gold? It was impossible. Night passed and the girl's fingers were sore with trying to spin straw, but not a single ounce of gold had appeared. She put her head in her hands. It was hopeless. "Ahem, maybe I can help, young lady." The girl looked up, and standing in front of her was a dwarf. "I don't think anyone can help me," said the girl. "Why ever not?" asked the dwarf. "I must spin this straw into gold," said the girl. "Well," said the dwarf, "maybe I can help. You rest for a while, and when you wake up, your troubles will be over." The girl couldn't see how he could possibly help, but did as she was told. While she slept, the dwarf whistled and worked. Just after dawn, he woke her up. "The job's done," he said happily. "What will you give me?" "All I have is my necklace," said the girl, looking with astonishment at the pile of gold that lay where the straw had stood. "Thank you," said the dwarf. "Goodbye." And he disappeared as quickly as he had arrived, before she even had a chance to thank him. A few minutes later, the king himself arrived to open the door. "This is quite fantastic," he said when he saw the pile of gold. "I didn't think it was possible." "You really do have a very remarkable gift. Still, to be on the safe side, we shall have another test tonight." The king spent the whole day with the girl and thought she was very beautiful. The miller had not lied about that. When evening fell, the king led the girl to another room about twice the size of the first, full from floor to ceiling with straw. The girl went in and he locked the door. She knew that she couldn't do anything, so she waited until early morning when the dwarf appeared again. "Shall I do the same thing again?" he asked. "It's such fun." "Yes," said the girl. "I have to turn all this into gold." "Well, you go and have a rest," said the dwarf, "and I shall do the work." "Thank you," said the girl. He woke her up again when the gold was stacked in piles around the spinning wheel. This time she paid with a gold ring. Moments later the king arrived. "This is truly fantastic," he exclaimed. He led the girl out of the room and again spent the whole day with her. He was quickly falling in love with her. That evening the king led her to a huge room. "If you can do it this one last time, then tomorrow you will be free," said the king. Again the girl sat and waited. The dwarf appeared shortly before dawn. Again he told her to rest while he completed the task. He woke her when he had finished. "How do you wish to pay me today?" he asked. "I have nothing left," said the girl. "Nothing?" cried the dwarf. "Do you mean you're not going to pay me for the work I've done for you?" He was furious. "The king has promised to free me," said the girl. "I can pay you then, but not now." "Well," said the little man, "there is one thing you can give me." "What's that?" asked the girl. "Anything, name it." "I want your firstborn child when you are queen," said the dwarf. "Very well," said the girl. After all, what chance did she have of being queen? The dwarf rubbed his hands together and disappeared again. The king arrived to unlock the door. He immediately asked the miller's daughter to marry him. The girl was amazed and then thought of her promise to the dwarf. Had he known what the king was going to say? The marriage took place a few days later. The miller was very proud when he saw his daughter sitting on the throne beside the king. Months passed, and nearly a year later the queen had a baby. It was a beautiful little girl with blonde hair just like her mother. The king and queen loved her dearly. The queen was alone with her daughter one day when suddenly the dwarf was standing in front of her. "I've come to collect my payment," he said, "as you promised." The queen clutched the baby to her. "You can't take my baby," she said. "I'll give you anything else, but please don't take her." "You promised," said the little man. "But she's just a baby," said the queen. "I'll give you a chance then," he said. "If you can guess my name, then you can keep the baby. I'll give you 3 days." He disappeared. The queen immediately called for her messengers. "You are to go to the far corners of the kingdom looking for the strangest name," she told them. "It is very important. You only have 3 days." The messengers went in different directions. The next day the dwarf appeared. "Do you know my name?" he asked. "Is it Richard, Thomas, or Edward?" asked the queen. "No, no, no," cried the dwarf. "You'll have to do better than that." He disappeared. The queen was very worried. The next day when he arrived, her messengers had no news. They had not come across any strange names. "Well," said the dwarf, "do you know my name?" "Is it Perkin, Algernon, or Quincy?" asked the queen, desperately trying to think of strange names. "No, no, no," laughed the dwarf. He disappeared again. The queen was very worried, but that night the last 2 messengers arrived. "We were in the forest when we saw a fire," they told the queen. "Dancing around the fire was a little figure, and he was singing a strange song. 'Tonight I stew, and then I'll bake. Tomorrow the queen's baby I shall take. The queen she cannot spoil my game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" "Thank goodness," said the queen. She was ready the next day when the dwarf arrived. "Do you know my name?" he asked her, grinning from ear to ear. "Is it Wilberforce?" asked the queen. "No," cried the little man. "Is it Zebedee?" she asked. "No," he cried, rubbing his hands together. "Then could it be Rumpelstiltskin?" asked the queen with a smile. "Someone has told you," cried the little man. "It's not fair." And he disappeared with a stamp of his little foot. Rumpelstiltskin was never heard of again.